Celebrating 42 seasons on the air, Farmweek is a production of Mississippi State University Extension. Today on Farmweek, we're a step closer on the Farm Bill as a final version makes it out of committee. But will it pass muster?
Line speed's back in the news. The USDA criticized over its plan to remove limits at hog plants.
Christmas right around the corner. Are you wanting to break with poinsettia tradition? Gary says go ahead.
And she's a dancer, pageant winner, and former 4-H'er. But Emma Grace McGrew says she's just a country girl. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Russell.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for joining us today on Farm Week, and happy holidays. Another busy week in ag news. Let's take a look at a hectic Farm Week newswire. The biggest item, the Farm Bill, has finally emerged out of committee and closer to having a final version. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue tweeted his approval, saying he will encourage the president to sign the bill when it's approved by Congress. As of the recording of our story here on Farm Week, the Senate has approved the near $1 trillion farm bill. The House will vote next. The bill should wind up on the president's desk before the last week of the lame duck session. Well, the Department of Commerce says trade deficits are up, this despite a trade war designed to level the playing field. The most recent figures show a deficit of $55 billion in goods and services. That's the highest deficit in a decade, and represents an increase of 11% over 2017. Much of that is in trade with China and the EU, where the deficit is running at a record-setting pace. Look for those deficits to be a favorite target of the president's during the rest of his current term. Well, despite rumors to the contrary, it's looking like a second round of trade aid for tariff-stricken farmers is not just around the corner after all. Sonny Perdue had said earlier in the week he was working with the president to iron out the wrinkles on where the aid would be spent. Now, Reuters is reporting that the aid will be delayed pending a possible trade deal with China to get soybeans flowing again after January 1st. Farmers are already reacting to the delay, most of them saying that they just can't wait any longer. Politico is reporting that dairy farmers want the Trump administration to make it easier for them to market in Japan. The National Milk Producers Federation offered its opinion recently to the International Trade Commission. It says Japan represents, quote, tremendous possibilities for American dairy farmers. Full access to Japan's dairy market, says Politico, could boost exports by 450% over the coming decade. Well, in defiance of federal law, one state is moving to restrict food stamp eligibility. The state of Wisconsin has passed a controversial law requiring drug testing of SNAP applicants. SNAP work requirements were a big part of the Farm Bill debate. Those were not tightened up in the new version. The Wisconsin law is a workaround announced by Governor Scott Walker's administration. Expect that to attract legal opposition. Well, back to the Farm Bill. Looking back over the last couple of weeks, there's been much debate. Nevertheless, both sides of the aisle wanting to get the bill done before the traditional year-end government spending spree. Here's Peter Tubbs with more.
The funeral of former President George H.W. Bush put much of official Washington on hiatus, pushing finalization of the 2018 Farm Bill into the last week of the lame duck session of Congress. Both the House and Senate agreed in principle to terms for a farm bill, pending scoring by the Congressional Budget Office. While members of the Senate Agriculture Committee know the general terms of the agreement, the exact language of the new bill remains hidden.
Looking forward to hearing
Congressman Colin Peterson of Minnesota, the incoming chair of the House Agriculture Committee, hopes to finish the Farm Bill next week to avoid reopening the measure when the 116th Congress is sworn in on January 3rd.
You know, I think we've got it nailed down. I think CBO score is going to be fine. I think we're going to be able to get it done. But as I said earlier, if it does not get done by the end of the year, I intend to take what we have worked out and put it on the floor and send it over to the Senate So if it doesn't get done by the end of the year, it'll get done shortly after the first of the year because I'm going to make sure it does.
Rural America is still waiting for evidence of a trade truce that was proclaimed as last week's G20 meeting ended. The White House announced on Saturday a Chinese promise to purchase American grain during a 90-day negotiation period. Chinese purchases of soybeans from the United States have declined 95% compared to the same period in 2017. Even if purchases begin in the coming weeks, American soybeans are losing market share against South American soybeans as favorable planting conditions are pointing towards an early harvest. From Market to Market, I'm Peter Tubbs.
Speaking of soybeans, researchers in Missouri and Iowa working to come up with heart-healthy cooking oils after the FDA ordered manufacturers to stop using artificial trans fats earlier this year may be onto something. Seed breeders and researchers at the USDA have identified a naturally occurring mutation in soybeans that may help solve the problem. The challenge is how to incentivize the research and pull a new oil through the marketing maze. Several companies are working to develop high oleic soybean oil into affordable products Americans will want to consume. We have an extended feature on this new oil that we'll bring you in late January.
An advocacy group, the National Employment Law Project, says the USDA used faulty data to justify speeding up hog slaughter lines. The idea of removing line speed limits at hog packing plants to improve productivity was proposed earlier this year, but the NELP says the agency used a flawed analysis that it says downplayed the dangers involved in the speed up. That speed up, they say, would increase injury rates. Meanwhile, federal officials say they, quote, would not regulate through responding to media attacks. Right now, packing plants cannot exceed 1,100 hogs an hour.
Well, what would a gardening segment 2 weeks before Christmas be without a story about poinsettias? It's a holiday favorite, of course, but a poinsettia doesn't have to be red. There are other choices, so you won't have to be a Grinch if you break with tradition. Here's Gary Bachman with some other poinsettia possibilities.
It's that time of year, and what better way to get into the Christmas spirit than to be surrounded by poinsettias almost ready for the holiday season. Today's Southern Gardening is at Pine Hills Nursery, looking at all the incredible colors of poinsettias. Everyone is familiar with the traditional red poinsettia, and this winter rose variety offers a great presentation of this time-honored Christmas color. But there are other great color choices available. Premium Ice Crystal has large rosy red bracts with pale pink to apricot center spotted in red. The pattern appears to be quite uniform, producing the classic baller color. These plants have excellent branching and dark green foliage. White Star is one of the cleanest whites available. It has bright white bracts that are held flat and are nicely displayed against the light green leaves. Viking Cinnamon Poinsettia has large creamy yellow pink bracts with rosy pink spots and a few splashes of bright color. The short broad bracts are held flat against the dark green leaves. And Red Glitter Poinsettia has brick red bracts with bold white spots and splashes. Red Glitter has upright growth with upright bracts and very dark green foliage. Whether you like traditional red or any of the other colors that are available, be sure to pick up a few poinsettias for the holiday season. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
A couple of things to know about poinsettias. Believe it or not, they're indigenous to Mexico, and they get their name from Joel Roberts Poinsett, the first United States minister to Mexico. He introduced the plant to the U.S. in 1825. One other thing, according to Wikipedia, there's a common misconception that poinsettias are extremely poisonous. That started about 100 years ago when someone spread an urban legend about a 2-year-old child dying after eating a poinsettia leaf. The reality is that poinsettia's toxicity is relatively mild. There is some latex in the plant. You could be allergic to that. But researchers have studied tens of thousands of cases with no fatalities, and the vast majority of cases involve no medical treatment whatsoever. So decorate away. Time now for the markets with Leighton. Are you a poinsettia man?
I am. You know, if you're somewhere you can't put up lights, easy way to add a lot of color.
Well, here you go.
Yeah, I like poinsettias, but that question always comes up.
It
Are
does,
they poisonous?
Are they poisonous?
Well, let's turn to the markets. Tuesday's crop report left the size of the U.S. corn and soybean crops unchanged from a month ago. And coming up now, why cotton prices are kind of stuck. Meanwhile, cull cow prices are described as low and going lower, while China is buying U.S. pork despite the trade war. Cotton is an uncertain market as we approach the final 2 weeks of this year. The trade tariff problem with China is now being exacerbated by the arrest of a Chinese technology official in Vancouver at the U.S. administration's request. Then add a new crop report in the mix just to increase the market pressure. That report, by the way, increased U.S. production by 180,000 bales. Nolan Cullen gives us the big picture of what's going on and what may be ahead for cotton.
Well, I think there are three big factors. One is the tariffs. Number two, rising interest rates relative to the rest of the world. And probably number three is the value of the currency. Certainly the tariffs, if they were removed, would be a very positive impact for U.S. exports. In fact, before the tariffs were actually imposed, China indicated they would be willing to purchase more cotton. So given we can remove that barrier of tariffs, I think it would be positive into the first quarter looking for U.S. exports. It's a time of the year, we put in harvest lows, seasonal lows, so there's a good chance here we're seeing the annual lows come into the market. We get the year end, start a new year, the outlook would be somewhat more positive for some type of technical rally in the cotton market. We've had a cotton market trending down. The first of the season, the market was up. We were having weather problems domestically worldwide. We've thrown two massive hurricanes at the cotton crops in the southeast, and we normally think 2 + 2 should add up to 4. Certainly the cotton market's price action did not follow that scheme. It's been discussed, we've got three factors. Number one is interest rates. The Fed is raising interest rates to go to a neutral posture. We're seeing the value of currencies affect foreign business, the ability to buy our exports. And finally, the tariffs. Even though the tariffs don't specifically apply to cotton per se, removal of that would offer opportunities for foreigners to be buyers. Those three influences don't appear to be going away anytime soon, but we would still think that seasonally we tend to see harvest lows put in fourth quarter of the year, and the markets tend to attempt to rally as we go into the first and second quarter and we begin to plant new crops.
Economist O.A. Cleveland shares the view some positive developments on ending the tariffs would definitely help bring back price stability to cotton. Dr. Cleveland notes the technicals of this market remain neutral, but it is the tension that we've talked about between the U.S. and China that is unsettling to traders and putting many on the sidelines for now. Supply factors are bullish for cotton, but demand for the moment remains weak, Dr. Cleveland says. Well, time for today's trivia quiz on our Farm Week program. We're talking about a food item used a lot during holiday baking, eggs. And here's the quiz question. How many of the eggs sold in the U.S. are cage-free? Is the answer A, 4%, B, 10%, C, 18%, or D, 23%? We'll have that answer coming up.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, she's a dancer, pageant winner, Hall of Famer, and maybe a future scientist. But Emma Grace McGrew says she's just a country girl, and it all started with 4-H. Luck and a good smile only take you so far. Everyone says she was a hard-working 4-H'er with a lot of get up and go. The results, see for yourself when you meet Emma Grace McGrew. Coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
ATVs are a ton of fun for people of all ages, but these powerful machines can also be a ton of trouble if safety guidelines aren't followed. Always wear a regulation helmet, gloves, and goggles when operating a four-wheeler. Long sleeves, pants, and over-the-ankle boots are also smart protection. Mississippi law requires approved ATV safety training for all operators who don't have a driver's license. This message brought to you by MSU Extension 4-H.
Before we get back to the market report, let's take a look at the Farmweek calendar. First, on January 3rd at the EMCC Lion Hills Center and Golf Club in Columbus, Mississippi, it is the MTA Turfgrass Roadshow with workshops on sports field management, choice of grass, pest and weed control, and more. What's new in the industry especially. And the price for members is $65, $85 for non-members. For information, call 662-769-7558. Next, on Wednesday and Thursday, January 16th and 17th at the Bolivar County Expo Center in Cleveland, Mississippi, it's the 2019 Delta Ag Expo. There you'll find the latest technical information on crops grown in the Mississippi Delta and surrounding regions. Some of the topics include water management, soil management, lenders, and precision agriculture. You'll also be able to speak with extension personnel as well as commercial ag businesses. For info, call Delta Ag Expo Chairman and Bolivar County Extension Agent Craig Hankins at 662-588-4742. Now, check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
We begin the second half of the markets with livestock. Cull cow decisions this year continue to be complicated by low prices. Cow slaughter is seasonally higher during the last 3 months of each year as producers make decisions prior to winter. Extension's Josh Maples says the low cull cow prices are definitely hurting producers' bottom line.
So I do expect we'll see some higher prices come springtime whenever ground beef demand cranks up. But it's a big, important question. You know, cull cow sales are important to producers' bottom line. You don't typically plan on culling cows, but when you do, and you know you'll have to at some point, getting these really low prices we have now is really hurting producers' bottom lines at the end of the year.
Why have there been more cull cows this year?
So there's a couple of things. So probably the biggest one is we just got more cows. You know, the total number of cows in the country is higher. If the culling rate stayed the same on a larger herd, then that's going to be more cull cows. So that's probably the biggest aspect. We've also seen some increased culling from dairy herds due to a very tough dairy market environment. So that's pushed more cows into the market. Those are probably the two biggest factors that have really pushed prices really low this year. You know, at this point, prices would almost have to double for us to not consider them as low. So that's the environment we're in right now.
The uptick in imports of U.S. pork by China continues, largely believed to be the result of the spread of African swine fever. A new assessment by Iowa State University economists finds that the disease was first seen in smaller hog operations in China, but has spread to larger ones now. Elaine Cobb says this comes at a good time for U.S. hog producers.
Hogs are in a wonderful position to respond very quickly with big gains on Monday, especially these nearby contracts. They're at such a strange spread structure when you look out to, the summer contracts. You could easily see them pop up and continue rising $10, $20.
Well, a quick look back to the trivia quiz now to wrap up our market segment. Our question again, it's about cage-free eggs. The answer this week is C. 18% of the eggs sold in this country are cage-free.
You are going to love this story and the extraordinary personality of the young lady who is the subject. We talk a lot about 4-H on Farm Week. For a lot of young people, it is the way they get a leg up on life and really start to accelerate. That's certainly the case for Emma Grace McGrew of Prentiss County, Mississippi, who jumped into almost everything 4-H had to offer. And in the process, with a little help along the way, she blossomed. Here from producer Brian Utley is an inspiring story that shows just how much extension matters.
Emma Grace McGrew is the type of young lady that you want your daughters to grow up and be like. She's a class act. Even at a young age, whatever she set out to do, she worked hard at it. You mix talent and hard work, great things are going to happen.
I am a self-proclaimed country girl. My mama was raised on a hog and cattle farm, and so it kind of began with her. Growing up in 4-H, I showed lambs and I showed chickens and I shot .22 rifle, and it really just took off from there.
Skip, our 4-H agent, would call and say, "Hey, does Emma Grace want to learn how to shoot a .22 rifle?" And I said, "Well, I'm sure she will, but I'll ask her." And so pretty much, Skip was an encourager. Anything, does Emma Grace want to do the chicken chain? Does she want to do this and that? And so pretty much just anything that was thrown out there to her, she wanted to try it.
Emma Grace, like I say, she participated in several different project areas. And I remember the first time when she first started showing lambs, she goes to Dixie National and she wins showmanship, first time she's ever participated. She goes, "Oh, look, Mr. Skip, I won showmanship." Act like, and people show their whole career and never win showmanship. And I said, "Emma Grace, it don't happen this way every time."
After I got those first 2 show lambs, it was like I just wanted to get involved in every part of 4-H. I took baking and cooking classes, which I think I was better at showing livestock than at that. So I got into the chicken chain after that. I showed chickens after that. And so once I got into that initial dipping my toes in the water, I just really couldn't get enough of it.
The more that you participate, the more that you do in the 4-H program, the more you're going to get out of it. In all the activities that we have to offer, you're just going to be a more well-rounded person.
4-H is so unique from any other youth program in that, well, first of all, you can do anything in 4-H. I was able to learn public speaking, and more importantly, I learned sportsmanship, and I learned how to celebrate other people. There are some days you win first in showmanship, and there are some days that you win this state public speaking competition, and then some days you don't. And 4-H, more so than anything, taught me that that's okay. It's okay to be a winner, and it's great to be a winner, but it's also okay to not be that winner and to be able to celebrate that winner. I mean, they help me so much now as a junior in college. It definitely has helped me through all the highs and lows of my life.
The 2017 Mississippi Miss Hospitality. Contestant number 1, Emma Grace McGrew.
I just remembered confetti shot out of the stage, and I looked to where my family was, and everybody was standing up clapping, and my mama had her head in her lap.
We were so happy and so proud of her, and I just wanted her to have a really good experience. And of course, I wanted her to be able to be her very best self through it and show who she really was.
A huge part of the Miss Hospitality competition is public speaking. You give a speech about Mississippi that you write yourself and you memorize, and it's because of that confidence and experience I had from going to Club Congress at 4-H, I was able to win a scholarship through that. There was a scholarship awarded for the best Mississippi speech and the best delivery in that, and I was able to win that, and that's what really led to me winning as Miss Hospitality. You'll find your place through 4-H. The friends that you get from 4-H really, it makes it all worth your while. Looking back, 4-H helped me to discover who I am, and it helped me to discover who I want to be. It has been a tremendous impact on my life.
She's a winner all the way around, isn't she? Emma Grace McGrew, headed to the big time, that's for sure. Well, a couple of other winners we want to mention before we end the show today, both of them from Mississippi. First, 23-year-old Taylor Mcnair of Learned, Mississippi, that's southwest of the Jackson area, was just crowned Miss Rodeo America. She's a former member of the Mississippi Junior Cattlemen's Association, and like Emma Grace, was active in 4-H. She earned her bachelor's in agriculture business from Mississippi State and was on the equestrian and rodeo team, so congrats to her. And another winner, Ted Parker of Seminary, Mississippi, just north of Hattiesburg, has won the National Beef Stalker Award. He's the owner of Ted Parker Cattle, LLC, which gathers calves from Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Feed the plain ones, sell the good ones is his philosophy, according to Beef Magazine. Ted's been in the cattle business since he was 18. His wife, Janet, sits on the board of the Mississippi Beef Council. Congratulations to them on their award. So I can almost hear the Bonanza theme.
Boy, here comes Hoss and Little Joe.
You got it.
Well, next time here on Farm Week, we've got a nutty story for you. Nutty, perfect for this time of year. The pecan industry is cracking new markets thanks to international interest. Prices have exploded, in fact. Prices are so good, some farmers are clearing out other crops to make way for the precious pecan.
Whether you say it pecan or pecan or some other way, one thing's for sure, there is a payday going on right now. That is next time on Farm Week.
And remember, if you miss a story on Farm Week, look for the past episodes at our website, farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.